Hello, welcome to this live stream. Nice to see you all. Yeah. So, what is the name of the title today? The title is called Stop Trying to Let Go, It Does Not Work. Yeah. Stop trying to let go, it does not work. I mean, what does that even mean? To let go. Leave it open. Please. Please. Thank you so much. No, the other one. The other door. I just have to take it. I am live. That is just a very funny scenario that just transpired, but I can't tell you what happens. I can't expose. Yeah, even saying that actually would expose him. But yeah, so forget it. Keep my mouth shut. So Oh, that's giving me the giggles now, and I'm sorry. Share it. Sorry. Oh, Deanna, it's so nice to see you. Many years. You even had your camera on. Really sweet to see you. Okay, so we begin. So, let's start with non-duality. These titles sometimes are a little bit tricky because, to be honest, what I do is I just take titles from other YouTube videos and then just change them a bit because I can't, I can't make up titles anymore. I've done this for like 12, 13 years, and YouTube is getting so incredibly difficult with its requirements, and so this is like an easy way to do it. But I just change it a little bit. Sometimes I make up my own if something comes, but often I'm plagiarizing the title, but not completely because you're not allowed to completely. So yeah, so sometimes it's hard with the titles because so stop trying to let go. It does not work. So sometimes doesn't necessarily spark anything about non-duality. So what I'll do is I'll just start with non-duality, and then I know it will begin to seep into that subject. But you might notice sometimes if you regularly listen that sometimes I just completely forget about the title and just go off on one, and then by the end I haven't really done the title. That is accidental, but yeah, I try. So what is non-duality? I mean, this in itself could be the title of the talk every week. Like, what is non-duality? Just that is like something that could be spoken about infinitely. So there's different ways in which non-duality can be taught. There's different types of teachers, and I don't see any of them wrong. That doesn't mean that I equally see them as right either. I just don't see them as wrong. I see all a movement of this. And your body-mind mechanism will be attracted and moved to exactly what it needs to be moved to. Because some non-duality teachers out there that are teaching where I'm sure they're doing it for power and money, and there's some that are genuine, and there's some that are halfway in between. All different types. You'll get all different flavors because that's the nature of life. Why not? If it's true creativity, then it can create every possibility. And you can't really be attracted to a fake teacher. I don't live in the UK anymore. I haven't done for a long time. And so my English is getting a bit weird. Plus with my dyslexia, I've noticed that. So if you sometimes notice I'm talking a bit hickledy-pickledy. It's partly my dyslexia and awakening combined, and then it's partly because I'm moving through many different countries with different languages that speak English differently to each other and then to my native country. So I'm just getting all hubble-doubled. You see, that's not even an English saying anymore, hubble-doubled. Hubble-bubbled. I don't know what the one is. Hubble-jubbled, jubble-hubbled. I don't remember what the saying is. Anyway, so the idea that you get attracted to a fake guru is actually a lie. You can't really be attracted to a fake guru or teacher, because when you really understand how life is working, everything is your teacher. Everything is that. Everything. And even if we call it relatively that you got attracted to a fake teacher, if your heart is pure, and I know this will be very unpopular to some people, but if your heart is pure, then you will process that correctly, and that will be the perfect teaching for you. Like, so I went through many different teachers, well, not that many, but different teachers, and yeah, I know some of them had bad intentions, and some of them had lovely intentions, and even through the lovely intentions they sometimes ended up doing things that were very maybe painful or difficult to take. And now when I look back to it, when your heart is pure, you take everything as your teacher. It doesn't mean that you don't say they're wrong, or you don't call out abuse, or you don't flag things for other people. It doesn't mean that you do. It's that nothing is going to stop you from finding peace. Like everything that happens to you, if your heart is committed to this, then no matter how terrible or how wonderful it is, it will be transformed into the perfect teaching. Even if you don't find a teacher and it's simply your daily life that is your guru or is your teacher. So anyway, my point was, let's see if I can go back. My point is that there's so many different teachings of non-duality, and none of them are wrong. That doesn't equal they're right, but none of them are wrong. They're all in the perfect play of things. And the most important part is your heart and commitment to truth, and seeing through illusion no matter what it throws up. No matter what it throws up. And so what is non-duality? Well, generally, all these different teachings will point back to the same thing, that non-duality is, as the title says, not two, not dual. So in our day-to-day life, we take our life to be dual, to be dualistic. We believe that there is somebody inside these bodies experiencing a separate world out there. That there is somebody here experiencing an out there. That there is a subject here and an object out there. And then from that assumption, which everybody else is assuming in society, which in one way you could say is you, but not you as your character. Although in some ways you could even say it's your character. But because everybody that you see out there is a reflection of what your character believes. So yeah, it's a complex subject. But I've forgotten what line I was there. I think it was like, as soon as you assume that there is someone there, then you're in relationship with an out there. And ultimately, there is no inner or outer. So non-dual. There is no inside or outside world. And what is so beautiful about non-duality is it's not asking you to have faith, although faith most probably does happen for a period for many people. But what it's asking is to investigate your direct experience. And it says that this isn't something which you wait for after death. This isn't something that you wait for in the next moment. It is something that is available right here, right now. And it is in the direct experience. And what joy that is. What joy that is. So what happens when somebody feels like they're inside the body? So when this illusion, we call it in non-duality illusion, when this illusion arises that somebody is inside this body, then that illusion is telling itself a lie. So that illusion is a lie. And always when you lie, there is an element of discomfort in it. You know, when you lie to other people, like there's always an element of discomfort in it for most people. Or if you don't tell a story accurately afterwards, you're like, oh, there's an element of not feeling great about that. And then this is the initial lie that you are somebody in here. And then what happens, as soon as you begin to lie to yourself that you are somebody in here as a person, as a character, then that person feels very vulnerable. And then it's always trying to find its stability in the world. It's trying to find stability by making itself a really fixed and strong entity. And then it's trying to find stability by absorbing as much pleasure it can and rejecting as much pain as it can. And deep down, underneath this movement, what it actually wants is stability and peace and freedom, but it looks in the wrong direction. So as soon as that initial lie arises that I am somebody in the body, then that person looks for that freedom in itself, in becoming a bigger ego, in becoming more defined, in getting more pleasure in more things. So if you think of a young child, if you've had kids, like you might notice this, that you see them like develop and play out their ego, and you watch their ego change over time as they get more and more concepts. So in the beginning, their ego is very clumsy and they try all different things. They try how to manipulate, they try how to be liked, they try how to be dominant, submissive, all these different roles they try to play and put on. And they're trying to find a stable sense of them that works in maximizing their pleasure. So, yeah, say if they're born into a little girl's body, maybe then they use the qualities of femininity to try and get what they want. And then they keep trying to build on their femininity because it works for them, and then they build on it. They keep trying to be more feminine or look more feminine or play more feminine. They reject all masculine thing. And all of it is an attempt to stabilize themselves as something. That doesn't mean that naturally they don't have a movement towards being feminine or masculine, but this is the seeking ego layer, which feels uncomfortable because it believes it is someone, it believes it is separate, and then tries to solidify that and find a solution for that in time. So all different games that we'll play to create an identity. And the identity will also be shaped by the world in which it's interacting with. So the way the parents are, friends are, society is. So it's like it will be shaped by the internal feelings and the external world. But eventually this is seen as one and the same thing. Because as a character now, so if you take the character, like or the body-mind mechanism, do you ever see out of the body-mind mechanism? So whatever you interpret the mother to be, is that the same mother that the siblings are seeing? Or does everybody have a different feeling of the mother? And would everyone describe the mother as different? There can be generic patterns that could be described, but I'm sure everyone of the siblings would have a different feeling and a different relationship to the mother, because you cannot really see outside of yourself. So everything you're interpreting is about you. So if you feel very insecure as a child and very unloved, maybe the other siblings that don't feel that might see the mother as loving, but that child might see the mother as rejecting, as not loving. And then it's like it might play off each other, because then the child might be very reactive to the mother, and then the mother might naturally go to the other children because the other children are easier. She might try not to do that. She might try to be fair, but it's like a hostility begins between the two. It's so fascinating, eh? And we all take it so personally, and it's completely impersonal. So non-duality is this creation of an illusory character and feeling separate from what you are as truth. And non-duality is the teaching, the remembering of what you are as truth. And there's different ways it can be taught. Some teachers are very intellectual and teach it very mentally, and that's not bad. Like Ramana Maharshi says, you use a thorn to remove a thorn. Sometimes these very high intellect teachers can really penetrate the thought processes of the mind, and that's really needed sometimes. Some teachers are very heart-based, and there's more of an energetic resonance with them. Some teachers are more meditative based, so they teach more meditation and stillness and silence. Some teachers are maybe like the truth teachers. No, not the truth teachers. The what's it called? The Zen slap teachers. Are they're more like fire and like set you on fire. Some teachers teach through something called darshan, where it's about a look or energy. There's all these different ways of teaching non-duality. In our society, because we have this illusory separation, we have this like very mental outlook on life, and we see things as very logical, and if they're not logical, then we reject it. So in India, darshan is considered very normal, and if somebody's awoken, it's very clear that the idea for a lot of Indian people is that you try to get close to that person because there's an energetic resonance, there's an energetic field that can be felt. They even believe it about dead rishis or sages. There's an area in India where sages go to die and people go to meditate there because it's meant to be phenomenal energy. And they got the Genga, they got all these different ideas about energy. And we come from this Western mind, which is kind of breaking out of Christianity. And even in Christianity, it saw all these things as like hocus pocus, as maybe something that foreign invades, which you can really understand why Christianity did that. It went on the witch hunt, killing all the women that were most probably like alternative healers in our society. And it took out the pagans. So anything that was too out of control, too unexplainable, it kind of annihilated from its religion. I mean, there's lots of unexplainable things in it as well, but a lot of this magical kind of stuff disappeared. And then with science, we kind of have a very strong tendency of disbelief. But just try and think about it logically, which is kind of funny because that's what I'm accusing the Westerns of being, is too logical. But if you look at scientific research, life is very unexplainable. So we got something at the moment in science called, I think it's called quantum entanglement. And this is such a mad idea. So if two atoms interact, they forever affect each other. And it's something like, if this one, which is trillions of miles away and the other side of the universe moves to the right, then this one will something like move to the left. So every time this one moves, and every time this one moves, this one moves. That is insane. That is insane. What does that mean about cause and effect and logic and explainable phenomena? That really blows it out of the pond's water. No, what's that saying? Blows the water out of the pond? I've forgotten the saying. Maybe I just make them all up. You have such a diverse audience, they'd just be like, oh, that's English slang. The duck out of the pond water. That blows the duck out of the pond water. There we go. So there's so many unexplainable things that are happening all the time. And in the West, we have such a disbelief about these things that in India is taken as a given. It's taken as the way it is. Of course, in India, people have different energies, but we know this. If you're in the field of somebody that is angry, unless you're a very, very strong meditator, then more than likely it's going to infect you if you're in the field of someone very angry for a long time. If you go to a concert and everyone's really excitable, they even know this, they teach it to people that are performing. It spreads. So if you can get some of the audience excitable, then you can spread it around the whole audience. So we know these things are possible, but then we don't believe in it. And as a society, we're like, all that hocus pocus stuff in India, that is simple-mindedness. Yeah, right. Which are the ones that are simple-minded? Yeah, so anyway, that was back to the different ways in which non-duality can be taught, and our idea that non-duality is an intellectual thing that is being passed on to us and that we understand it and that we will get it. Who? Okay, so now we'll try and address this idea of letting go. So let me just check the title again. Stop trying to let go. It does not work. So then if we go to the idea of letting go. So this idea is a really funky idea because in some ways you could say that, like, to completely let go or give up, there will be a dissolving back into what you are beyond the person. But how would you let go if you don't exist as a person, as a separate entity? If there's not really a you inside the body, there is phenomena appearing at every moment instantaneously, and there is no division between the observer and the observed, then who is going to let go? And you'll realize that it's imagination that lets go. And that can be helpful for a period. So you imagine yourself letting go. So say if you're in conflict with your partner because they eat all the food and don't replace it or something. They eat all the food. They don't do the washing up. Like, so say you're in conflict with your partner because they don't do the washing up. And you'd like them to do the washing up. And they feel like, no, I do more jobs than you. I earn more money than you. You should do the washing up, or something like this. So there is conflict. And your mind gets so furious about it. Like, who do they think they are? That's slavery, male privilege. They earn more money because they've had so much more privilege than we have. So why should I have to do the washing up when I work as much as them and I do so many things that they don't see? You can imagine how it goes, all these ideas. I feel my partner beginning to sweat because he's like, everyone's going to think she's talking about me. I'm really not. We have a dishwasher. Anyway, so anyway, you're getting really furious in your head and you're having lots of conflict with them, and like you can't even look at them because you're so furious about it, and you keep rehearsing how you're going to tell them and how you're going to break them down and make them see your point. And then every so often you try, but it's just like you have to keep storming out of the room. And if you get the concept into your mind at some point to let it go, that can have a profound effect. I don't mean like if you get the thought to let it go and just do his washing up. I mean, let the argument go. And you can stay by your boundary of like, I'm only going to do this much washing up by a week. Like, he can't force you to do the washing up. But you decide to let all the anger and hatred and resentment towards him. This can have a really profound effect. Like, to let it go. Like, who cares in the end? A dirty mug, a dirty bowl. Like, when all is said and done, who cares? I understand sometimes that you have to erect boundaries and you have to put all these things in place. I'm not suggesting that you become a doormat, but you let the argument go internally. So you stay by your boundary. This is how much washing up I'm going to do a week. And yeah, you keep your boundary, but you let it go internally. So you stop going over it again and again, and you sort of speak yourself into letting it go. And that can have a profound effect. You most probably need to be quite advanced for that to happen, actually. Because most of the time what will happen is that you'll get into an argument with yourself, and the more that you try to let go, the more that you'll get into like what's that mud called? Sinking mud, sinking sand. You'll get into boggy waters. Like you'll begin to argue with yourself. But if you're quite advanced, the idea of letting go and to drop it, that the idea might pop in, and then all the thoughts get popped, and then there is a dropping of it. But if you're not so advanced, then most probably you'll begin to argue with yourself. But anyway, this isn't exactly what I wanted to speak about, because actual true letting go is beyond that. So that one that comes up as a thought and says to let go, it can have a profound effect. Like Ramana says, you use a thorn to remove a thorn. So it could really soften and relax many ideas. It could create a mental storm inside your body where you start shaming yourself that you haven't let go as well, depending on how advanced you are, depending on your personality type. So advanced doesn't mean that you can just do it. Like if you've got a certain personality type, that could just shame you instantly. But all of those are in the mind. All of those are in the person. So when you come up with the thing and you say to yourself, okay, let's just let this argument go. Who is it that's letting go? Who is that thought that's letting go? And who is that one speaking to? So, okay, I'm going to let it go. The actual moment of freedom comes not from this conversation. It comes when there is a dropping of all of that mental chaos, and then there is a sinking back into what is. But that's not actually an action from someone. It's that what's happened is that the story on the screen has become like less chaotic. So rather than it being like a techno party, it's become like white light. And then there's been a dissolving into the obviousness of what you are as the screen, if we talk about you as the screen in this analogy. So there's this dissolving back into what you are. Through the questioning and through the saying, letting go. But it's because that dissolved, it's not because there is somebody that did something. Like, who is this person that lets go in time? Who is this person that is talking to itself? That is what the mind is always believing itself to be. And this is why you could say, in a way, letting go does not work, because it keeps you in an idea that waking up is your responsibility and that you have to let go in order to wake up. But that's not true. That one that is narrating all of that doesn't exist. There isn't a continuous you. There is thoughts and feelings in every moment, and there is something prior to that which is always free, that is never affected, that is everywhere and nowhere. So all of these things of letting go, of you working on yourself, it's all in the film of you. But when the film is like really chaotic, it's hard to depict the screen in which the film is played on, because there's so much happening on the screen. It feels too busy to see that there is a plain white screen behind it. But as the story and the film of you becomes less chaotic and more still and more silent, until it gets less and less activity, And you begin to see that there is this perfect white screen that's always free behind the story of you, supporting the story of you. So I'm a total fan of using the mind to settle the mind down, of settling down the character, of working on yourself. But you have to realize that working on yourself is all in the dream. It's all in the film that is playing on the screen. The screen has always been there. If the film wasn't played on the screen, the film would be chaotic. You wouldn't be able to depict all the colours and pictures that are forming. You need a screen in order for it to be shown on. So where is the screen now? So letting go can be a practice to settle you down, but it doesn't work as a tool for you to get to freedom, because who is this you and what freedom are you getting to? Notice that something knows the one that wants to let go or not let go. Notice that. Who is that? Stand with that. So move the attention out of the film, out of what you get, out of the chaos, out of the annoyance, and back into the watching, and explore attention, explore consciousness. The consciousness is the portal to the big consciousness. The personal consciousness is the portal to the big consciousness. So explore that. Yes, settle down the person, but then recognize that prior to the film, there is always the screen of big consciousness, which the film is being played on. And the big consciousness is still, not in movement. And it's actually all of the film. But this analogy doesn't really work with that. It's also everything. 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 My friend who I'm going to be interviewing on Monday is always doing this. His name is Siddhartha. He always recommends people to do this. Yeah. So, okay. We now go to questions and answers. If you want to join these Zoom talks live, you can find out how to do that on my website, and you can join the community and you get to ask questions. I also have an event coming up in August in the motherland of the United Kingdom. I think that there is very few spaces left. Amelia, who is the one of the organisers, who you'll have the written contact with, said today. So I think that there is 45 spaces at max, and we're at 38 now, I think. Or we're at 43. I wasn't really clear if that included the team members or not. So there's very few spaces left. Yeah, it's a non-residential retreat. So I just wanted to explain something about the retreats that I offer. When I do a live-in retreat, I pick very basic venues. I do this for two reasons. The most important reason that I do it for, I mean, I have tried different places at different times, but the most important reason is because I want to try to keep the costs low. Because when I was a spiritual seeker, I was a student, and it would have been impossible for me back then to pay like 1,000, 1,500, 1,700 for a retreat, which is often the case nowadays. I mean, obviously back then it would have been less because of interest, but I can't think how much it would have been back then. But I remember it already being like $1,000 at least, Whereas now it's more like some of them I see like $1,700, $2,000, $2,500. So I try to pick very basic venues if it's live-in, because then I can offer it really cheaply as well to people like me who are students or you're young or unemployed or have chronic illness and cannot work. So the last retreat that we did, I think that there was like spaces if you really, really needed to reduce for like €595, which is like maybe $620 for a whole week, including everything. And that's hard to do, I have to say, to get everybody paid. You know, it's not a small thing putting on an event. You need lots of people involved. And then the way that we do that is that we charge slightly more for the single rooms, and then we open it up to people who have more money if they want to donate more money, which helps for the people that are at the lower end of it. But it means that if you come on a retreat with me, then it's most probably going to be very basic accommodation for everybody. You can't have it that you have accommodation that's like 5-star for the rich people and then not for the other people. It's like very basic accommodation normally that I pick. The second reason that I do that is because I'm not a business person and I really can't be bothered to do business. And if I were to pick a really expensive place, my overheads would be very large. And I just don't want to get into that. I just don't want to get into that world. So I try to keep everything very basic and simple. And then the other thing that I offer is like what I'm going to offer in the UK, which is non-residential retreat, which means that people can have all types of different accommodations. So for this one, there's like camping nearby, which is like £10 a night. And then there is really fancy hotels. So this is open for everyone. And then I always have a reduced price. And then sometimes we get sponsorship for people that can't even afford the reduced price as well. So if you offer to pay more, then it can go towards the people with reduced price. And yeah, so that's what we do. And I try to always pay everybody. So anybody that helps gets paid. It doesn't always work out like that because we might do some exchange. But it means that it's it means in order to do all of that, we have to ask you to be understanding. If you're wanting like a 5-star experience, that's not going to happen. And if you're paying more, that doesn't give you more of a 5-star experience. What you're actually paying more for is to include everybody. It's kind of like, I suppose, more of a like mainland European mentality. And maybe Canadian, like this more, so a bit more social idea, mentality. Yeah, I just wanted to explain that because it's the same with the book clubs and everything I do. I'm always trying to include everyone and pay everyone and be fair and not get into freaking business, because who wants to do that? You just need to earn enough money and then you can chill. What's that really famous story, about this Mexican guy? So there was this Mexican fisherman. He would go out fishing every morning. He would catch enough fish, and then he would go and lay in the hammock all afternoon. And then there was this American businessman that went on holiday there, and he watched the fishermen. He was like, "Man, what you catch is such high quality. What you could do is you could employ 10 people. You could go out in big fleets, catch lots of fish, sell loads, and then like lots and lots of money." And yeah, and the Mexican fisherman is like, "But why would I do that?" And he's like, "Well, if you make lots of money, then you can like chill the rest of the time." And he's like, "But I already do that. I catch enough fish to pay for my family, and then in the afternoon I chill. If I were managing lots of people, then what would be the point?" And I think the American like businessman like also added in there like yeah, you can do it for like 5, 10, 15 years and then retire after that. And the Mexican fisherman is like, "But I'm already retired. I go out, I love my job, I fish enough fish, I come back, my wife cooks it, my family eats, and then we chill." Yeah. I don't know if I did the story justice. Okay, so let's take questions. If you got any questions, you can put your hand up. And yeah, Lee, you can unmute yourself. Hey, Lee. Just 1 second, just so you can make sure that your audio's in. Yeah, can you speak? Yeah, just 1 sec. Your audio's not in. 1 second. Thank you so much for being my test. Okay, one more time. I just have to look on my dashboard.
Yes, nice to see you.
Yeah, it's in. Great, everyone can hear you. Yeah.
So it is actually nice to see you. But I don't know if it's a question or a comment or an observation. I think back to when I was a small child, like 3 or 4 years old, almost longer than I can remember. And I was carefree, happy-go-lucky, just being a kid, having a good time. But it seemed like whenever I was just being myself, having a good time, I would somehow get in trouble and be punished and told I was bad. This gets back to a recent talk you had about shame. And it was very painful. I thought if my mother was spanking me, that meant she didn't love me. And it was just too painful to endure. So I realized I needed to pretend to be the person I thought my mother wanted me to be. And at the same time, I remember having the thought that I'm going to build this wall around myself, this psychological wall. I didn't use the term psychological back then, but something to protect me from being hurt, from feeling this pain. And after a while, over the course of life, I forgot I was pretending, just like an actor who really gets into their role, identifies with the role and forgets their acting. And now in recent years, I've discovered, in fact, that I was pretending, and so gotten back into this search for my true self or true nature. But I find there is resistance to, as you say, letting go. So I might want to just sit and rest in being. And if I just want to be still, it seems like thoughts come up that interrupt it, either a fear of being still because this childlike or idea that I have to protect myself and I can't let go, or just, even if it's not fear, just there seems to be a resistance to being still.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So sometimes,
yeah, carry
yeah,
on.
sometimes I can recognize that and I can realize, oh, that's the separate self who that is resisting, but it makes it seem like me. And so I guess my question is what to do when that resistance is sensed, where there's a seeming inability to be still or rest quietly.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Lee, for saying all of that, because when you speak about these things, you're not only just asking for yourself, but for other people that might have too much shame to be able to ask that or to speak about it. So bringing it up is really helpful, not just for you, but other people listening as well. That's a way in which we learn, is by watching and listening to other people and their experiences. So it's really interesting what you said, and I just would like to do a bit of commentary on that first. So when you were a child, your main caregiver was your mother, is that correct?
Yes, well, mom and dad, but mother was the main disciplinarian.
All right. So, and who was, when you were very young, who was like at home with you in the day? Or did you go to childcare?
No, I think I was home. My mother was probably home at the time.
So your mum maybe did the most of the day stuff, like with you. So we'll just focus on the mother rather than speaking about the father. We'll just speak about her interaction with you. So we all get given a mother, and for a lot of us, the mother is the main caregiver and the father goes out for work. And my mother was the main caregiver. My mother worked part-time though, so I part-time went to childcare. To my mum's friend actually, who I'm still very good friends with. But in a lot of societies, and for most people, especially in sort of our age range, their mother was the main caregiver. And the father was there after work, but the mother was the one that did the work during the day and maybe even into the evening. So the mother's the main caregiver. So the mother then, if the mother's not free, if she's not recognized who she is, then she's going to energetically, no matter, even if she's read lots of books and becomes this perfect communicator, she's going to be energetically expressing stuff from her body, and you're going to be energetically picking that up. Even if she's taught herself how to give you the perfect correction, there's still going to be this energy inside the body of separation and fear and anxiety. But say your mother wasn't free, your mother was identified, then she's going to come to that relationship with her identification and with the way that she was trained to bring up kids. And most probably she's going to have a certain amount of shame in her behaviors. So the way in which she will have interacted with you will be most probably very shame-based. So maybe when you did certain things, she felt ashamed of not being a good mother, and then she was particularly tough. This is just an example. Particularly tough when something happened where she felt shame. Could be that she felt guilty, so then you get the opposite. So when you don't get your needs met, or when you're upset, or when you're in pain, she feels like she's guilty and feels like she's a bad mother, so then she overdoes and overpleases, and that too will create painful conditioning. So it's not that the mother wanted, more than likely, to shame you or to blame you or to hurt you in any way, but some mothers do. Some mothers will have a sadistic side, but it's more than likely a tirade of unconscious things that are coming through in the moment. So say if you went to steal a cookie, for example, without her seeing, like that could trigger immense shame in her that she has done bad to not install in you like the correct rules. So immense shame would come up in her. So then maybe, or often when people feel shame, they can retaliate in aggression because they don't recognize they feel shame. What they feel is they feel angry because they can't feel or face that. So they feel angry and they feel violated by the child, which is actually absolutely not true. The child is not violating the parent in any way. The child is not doing anything wrong in any way. It's just doing what a child does. You know, the same with a dog. If I'd left food on the floor, you know, most likely the dog would steal the food. But we have all these ideas. And so then these interactions, the child then begins to mimic the parent. So the child begins to, like the parent does, create an identity to try to be a perfect child, to avoid the mother shaming, blaming, criticizing the child. And then the child begins to play that. And then that becomes the child's strategy for life. So everyone that it meets, it tries to do what it did with the initial main caregiver, the mother, the father, the grandparents, or the system, if you're in the system, whatever it is. So then when you meet new people, you'll ironically pick parents, pick partners like your parents, like what you're used to, and then you'll play your game with them. Because actually that feels the most familiar. And then when you begin to undo yourself, all of this begins to come into the light. So all these conscious things, so as you begin to wake up and your attention stops roaming into the anger, the rage, the more surface emotions, and the consciousness, the personal consciousness begins to rest here more, you become aware of all these hidden games and dynamics that you're playing and the connection to the past, the apparent past. And through that awareness, it's like you're standing still and you're letting them flow through you. So you're getting to really know your illusion and yourself, the illusory self. So you're really getting to know all the games that it plays. And one of the main games that it plays is shame, blame, guilt, and pride. And they're all very closely connected together. And worry and anxiety, which is expectation. So we worry about being shamed in the future. We're scared about blaming in the future, being angry, being hateful of who we'll be in the future. And all of this is made up. And the way that we can tell it's made up is that we weren't born like that as a child. As a child, we cried, we wet ourselves, we pooped ourselves. We bit, we tantrumed, we did, whatever. We threw our food around, we picked our nose, we made disgusting smells, and there was no sense of shame or embarrassment or guilt about that. Like it wasn't inherently who we are, it was something that we attached to through time. In those moments, we were this pure being that was expressing itself freely. And then it began to copy the parents and began to make up an identity to be able to control all these things, to be able to control ourselves, which doesn't need to stop. Controlling ourselves isn't actually the problem. The problem is the identification with the controlling ourselves. So, like suddenly if you have the urge to pee, peeing in the middle of somebody's lounge isn't the most appropriate thing to do. And all of us, like sometimes when we're tired, we so can't be bothered to get up to go to the toilet. But suddenly just to pee there, it's like controlling ourselves is a very intelligent animal quality. So it's not that controlling the self is the problem. It's that in every moment we're not as ourself, as beingness, and are letting that control arise from the moment. What's happening is we're living in the imagination of ourselves. So we're living once removed. So we're controlling ourselves to try to avoid pain of this identity, to try to avoid all these separation ideas like blame, guilt, shame, pride, expectation. So rather than in that moment, like just being with the sensation of the pain of the toilet, the sensation of not being bothered to want to get up, and then at some point there is the movement to get up to go to the toilet, and then going to the toilet happens. Rather than that, we're living in a mental story. So what dies is the living in the mental story of that. So something that can arise for people is like they can feel embarrassed or shy about asking to go to the toilet because that brings about shame. So that's the area which isn't true. And the more and more we rest as what we are right now, then our actions become more and more free. We go back to the Garden of Eden, we go back to that place before we ate the apple of knowledge and became self-aware and ashamed of our own nakedness. That doesn't mean that then we decide to walk around the streets naked. It's not that. It's this other energy of being really expressive from the now, from this moment, rather than our daydream of who we need to be for others, to be loved, to not be rejected.
So on those occasions where I'm just wanting to rest in being or be still, and it seems thoughts are coming up to interfere, again, oftentimes I identify and I say, oh, shoot, or more likely something that sounds like shoot. Uh, and I identify as the thinker, but other times I can recognize these are just thoughts that are coming up and they can just flow
Yeah.
by like as if on a river.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, as I say, there seems to be difficulty just being still, which
Yeah.
is really all that is needed. But there
Well,
seems to be, I'm calling it resistance because I don't know what
yeah.
else to call it.
Yeah. And that resistance is like a purging of all the apparent past actions in the body. It's not a bad thing. The recognition of the resistance is enough. And through time it will just burn away more and more and more. When the mind is like really in stronger resistance and there's a pain rate around it, a very wise thing to do would be to do something like body work. So you change the body, you change the breathing, and then you change the thinking, and you change the state of the mind. But it's all in a way happening perfectly. There is this kind of battle that goes on between the apparent good and evil, the one that wants to remain as himself, and then the one that resists it. Like that's part and parcel of the parcel. But but deep down there is a knowing that there is this consciousness which is prior to both of those, and that consciousness is free. But there is a dance in the body-mind that's happening, where the body-mind tries to take control again, then there's a collapse of that, it tries to take control again, and then there's a collapse of that. So in a way it's like absolute trust and conviction in the path. The most important thing is that the heart and the mind are fixed on the goal, that they're pure, like what you really want is freedom, not to not be shamed, not to not be shameful. And then it will act its way out perfectly. And the most important part is the purity of heart, that this is truly what you want. And don't even let shame get in there. The shame will be like, I haven't got purity of heart.
And I recognize that the shame was based on a young child's mistake.
Yeah, trying to protect
Yet
herself.
it
And
has pervaded my lifetime for 60 some odd years ever since,
yeah,
or seemingly has.
seemingly could have been many, many lifetimes. You don't know how many times you've been interacting with the mother. Maybe she's been the child before your child. Like, we don't know how that dream has been going.
And I'll just make one other comment that it occurs to me that I must recognize that freedom is inherent, because when my mother, or nowadays my wife, who often tells me I think she's my mother, I say yes, because you treat me the same way. But when she tells me something to do or how I should think, I feel like my inherent freedom is being trod upon, or they're trying to take away my freedom by telling me what to do. So I
Absolutely
recognize
not true.
it must be inherent if
Mm.
I'm rebelling against
Mm.
someone trying to take it away.
And it's absolutely not true that they can take anything away from you by telling you what to do. You know, this freedom can be found in a prison, concentration camp, in any, of the worst scenarios. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be freedom. So then, therefore, it cannot be taken away by them telling you what to do or not to do. It doesn't mean that you don't put up boundaries, but boundaries are really simple. Boundaries are you establish what you want kindly, and then that's the end of the matter. It might not be the end of the matter for the other person, but as long as you're firm and you stay in that, like, this is what I want, and you assert it kindly and you use empathy, then it's very simple. What's complicated is the other person trying to resist or knock down your boundaries. But if you learn how to do boundaries, then you can kind of give up on like the energy that we put into navigating other relationships, and then you can just really mentally give up on thinking or how to sort it out or resisting it, and see that they can attempt to try to do this or do that, but it's not taking away from your freedom of what you are right now, this spaciousness of what you are. And often what we do is we do pick people that are similar to parents, ironically, because it kind of mimics safety, some form of safety. You know, to go for somebody that's totally new and outside of the way your family would behave, then you'd be totally in fearful. You know, who would you be to them? How would you respond? You have to totally find a new way of being.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Yeah, Lily, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Yeah, I'm in the park right now, so I hope it's not too noisy.
Yeah. No, it's not noisy at all.
Um, I found it super interesting when you talked about like with different, I don't even know how to call it, types of like teachings with like more working on the intellect or energy. And I just noticed that most of the times I'm more focused on the energy of the teacher. I don't know why, just yeah, turns out to be that way.
Well, because most probably that you're an empath. You're very sensitive to energies, I would assume. Like you're reading people's energies.
Uh,
I mean, I think that's when I met you in person, that's what you looked like you were doing. Like
yeah,
it's some people are really like reading what people are saying, and then some people are really reading energy,
yeah. I feel like that was my job in childhood.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I also found it like super funny when you mentioned the word darshan, because recently, just last week, I got like a new sannyas name, and it's Darshan.
Why did you get a new one? They just were like, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake," or you asked for a new one.
And like the first one I got in India, and last week I got it from Vishrant. So yeah, he gave me a different one.
Darshan. Oh yeah, yeah, that suits you, Darshan.
I just found it funny because like the first time when I got this name, it was like something new, and now like a second name, it yeah just changed so quickly, and it's like I don't know. I just found it interesting that I don't know, like you can just give yourself a different name or But you never got any like names, right? Because you were also in India quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I never got given a name.
But you kissed her feet of Ramesh.
I kissed the feet of Ramesh and Roger. And maybe he did it to Muji too, I forget. It's just like, look, I'll kiss anyone's feet for this. And I sometimes wonder in India if it's like also like this extra test because they also wear sandals as well, you know, and it's very dusty and not always in all the places, but it's like extra test. Us Westerners all have pampered feet, you know, they're like often our feet are in socks and shoes. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, so I never took a name. It never came up. I mean, when I was in the Buddhist group, they gave names, but I never made it to that. Like you had to be ordained. I was just a mitra, you know. So I was like a training for ordination, but I never became ordained. That was very long process. Like take 10 years to get your new name. Yeah. But we just named my partner. My friend's here at the moment, and we named him, and we decided we settled on him. Harry Om. I love it. Harry Om. We thought that Harry wasn't enough, and so we added on Om, like really give it the kick. Harry Om. And for me, we decided on Druga. Even though I'm a fan of Kali, we decided Druga fit me. But we were just playing when we were singing.
What means Druga?
It's just so one of the female goddesses, I don't know what they call them, or goddesses in Hinduism, Druga. Yeah, and she's more like motherly but fierce. I mean, they're all fierce in Hinduism. Motherly, fierce. I've forgotten all her qualities, but maybe not as fierce as Kali.
Yeah. Probably not.
Druga.
And my actual question was about something else, something that you've also talked about in the past in one satsang. And I just wanted to quickly like explain the situation, but know from you like again like what was your personal experience with it, or maybe what you've learned out of it. For me, it was just like the last 2 weeks I was at a retreat, and I kind of figured out towards the end that I also had some belief systems like still about like the teacher, but I put him on a pedestal in some way, not so obvious, but still. And like the situation, if I just like try to shorten it up, it was just like he did something which was like really not acceptable. So it was just like not okay. And like it had nothing to do with me, like many people kind of noticed it. And I was like so surprised because I really didn't expect him to do those kind of things. Yeah, and I was just curious if you could tell something about it from your experience, because I remember that one time you also talked about, yeah, like that you got disappointed by teachers, or that, yeah.
I mean, like, there's so many different traditions in non-duality. So you got the more guru tradition. I'm not a guru. It's not my culture, and I don't understand that. And I never took a guru like that. But the guru tradition, it's like part of what it is that you like love the teacher to the absolute max, and you use that falling in love with the teacher, you use that admiration, you use that putting on a pedestal to expand your love. You know, sometimes when people come to this subject, you're quite young, so you maybe won't experience that in this lifetime. But some people, they come to this subject and they've got more and more shut down by life, and they just don't love anything. I don't know if you can imagine what that's like, to not love anything. You know, I got into this subject quite young too, so I could still love. But often people have been through, you know, like relationships where like just the love evaporated and anger and resentment came in, and then lots of stress from life, and the nervous system has been activated, and then they don't love anymore. So when you meet a teacher and you are able to put them on a pedestal and you're able to see love in them, that's quite a profound thing. So what would happen in some non-duality Hindu traditions is that you use that love to evoke love in yourself. You know, it's like a tiny little light in the middle of like lots of suffering, and you keep focusing on it, and the more that you focus on that love, the more it lightens love in yourself. The problem with it, and everything comes with problems, is that you're very vulnerable in that situation. So if the teacher chooses to abuse that love and to use you, then that can have some very difficult consequences. However, if you really understand the teaching correctly, and you really understand what narcissism is and sociopath is, and you have good boundaries, then it could be that your body manages to deal with that in the correct way. But it also could be disastrous. I mean, this is the difficulty, and this is why there's so much rebellion now against these types of things. But in its essence, it's actually a really beautiful teaching. And it's the same as that story I told you of what I did when I was a teenager. You know, I focused this love on this idealistic relationship. If I'd actually acted it out with the person I was focusing on, it mostly, you know, would have been immensely disappointing. Because I would go through different people that I'd focus it on. Like I remember there was this one guy that was in this band. I forgot his name now, but he was in a band, and I focused on him for a while. On a band, a local band, you know, someone I knew. And I would just focus on him, and it would like evoke so much love in me. And it was such a gift and a blessing. But if I'd actually got to know him, it would have most probably destroyed it. So the longing was to get to know him and to have a relationship with him, but actually in not getting to know him and in using him as this object of projection and evoking that love in me, I actually went to a different dimension where it became love that wasn't attached to anybody else. So it's a really beautiful practice to do. Really beautiful practice. But it's just the difficulty, you know, whether the teacher or not is abusing power, number one. And then number two, the teacher's going to make mistakes. So, I mean, there is no mistake ultimately, but the teacher is going to do things that are challenging, even if they're not power-driven or narcissistic. You know, they're going to sometimes get overcome by sensory pleasure, and through that there might be acting out of difficult things. It's just the nature of life. And then also they'll have different ways of erecting boundaries, different conditions, different ideas of ways of expressing things. So part of one gift that I had with Roger was, you know, it wasn't like Roger was this perfect being that was always like walking on light and everything he did was easy to digest. It was like some of the things that he did, and I'm not criticizing him because I love him profoundly, but were very difficult to love. Very difficult to see love in, or to see the teacher in, or to see divinity in. But that's not a criticism of him. It's a purification of my mind when taken correctly. Because other people's actions don't affect your freedom in the end. Other people's ways of being, but that doesn't mean that you tolerate inappropriate behavior. But you don't need to to get carried away with that as well. It's hard if you're without describing the situation, it's hard for me to comment on it, but you don't need to get carried away. Like, it's easy to get carried away and like, this person's wrong and they shouldn't have done this and doesn't mean you don't hold them accountable, but you don't need to get on the bandwagon of gossip or thought or.
Yeah, I think for me it's like afterwards, like my picture kind of got like a little destroyed of how people that are awakened can be. I always knew like that on the character level, yeah, not everyone is like an angel. But like I didn't really expect that people can be like so like with this teacher he just like got triggered like so much and got like very impulsive, like not with me but someone else or other people, and like so angry, and you could just see like it was just so wrong what he did, just like screaming around, but not like in a teaching way that there was anything that he wanted to teach someone something. It was just so wrong. I felt so sad. It just, yeah. I was like watching the whole thing, like feeling all the different emotions was like super intense. But and I still like felt also this love, but it was just like it didn't make any sense. Yeah, yeah.
But what a fantastic lesson. What a grace to watch all of that. It contradicts all your ideas and thoughts and feelings. It doesn't mean that you return to that teacher. You then have to decide whether that breaks your trust or breaks something in you. Doesn't mean you return or not return. I'm not commenting on that level. But what a blessing that is to have all of these things smashed and to feel that. Doesn't feel like a blessing in the moment of it. And to just see, those contradictions in the mind, how the mind wants to understand, the mind wants a story to be able to put on it. The mind wants to label them or him as something. That doesn't mean that you don't say, no, this is inappropriate, I don't want to do that. It doesn't mean you don't say to them, no, this is inappropriate, I don't want to be part of that. I feel like you should apologize, whatever you feel like is correct boundaries. But it's in your heart, that's such a beautiful thing to experience. Letting go of everything. It's all about your heart and the way that you see, and where the focus is if the focus is in the psychology and having the correct society and the perfect society, then you'll want to work out who's right and who's wrong, and having perfect communication. But if your heart is in the freedom part, then you'll use it as a way to contradict any ideas of what you believe life awakening must look like. What is your goal? What is your purpose? How does that feel? What happened in you when I say that?
Uh, there's less sadness and more, like I still feel being touched by it, but there's also more clarity. And I feel that in this moment, I really try to feel like where there's resistance inside of me and just like feeling everything, which worked out quite well. But afterwards, I felt like some guilt or something else because like I didn't speak up for others because it was like so intense with all the emotions. Like that I felt like I can't stay like the center or in my heart, but like still like function and talk properly or anything. Yeah, and then like afterwards there was like the sense of guilt, like I should have done something different.
Yeah, which is absolutely untrue, especially if the other person was being very aggressive. You know, and if somebody, you were saying they were shouting and stuff, when someone's showing aggression, then often what it does is it's purposely designed to shut people down. You know, so like the guilt's a lie. I mean, this is where Roger's teaching is so phenomenal, you know, and Ramesh. Like that's all story stuff. It's very it's very normal that happens, identified or not identified. If you're with somebody that's aggressive, your body naturally will begin to shut down. That's why it's been so effective, you know, in controlling people. It's not like the right way, but that's, you know, the purpose of it. You know, so that's such a great teaching, you know, in you, like that part of you that comes up and feels that responsibility, that it was your job in any way. Like, who is this one? Like, what you are is the presence. The good thing about the reflection, though, is that it might spur that body into to erecting boundaries or saying something or to looking at this ethically on the surface level. But on the deeper level, it's that none of this is who you are. None of this. You're not the one that did or didn't act. You're not even the one that was involved in that or not involved in that. You're the pure presence. And it's so simple, this part, that the mind even feels guilty about the simplicity of it. No, but I must help. I must do something. I must work it out.
Yeah, like I feel like that this message is like super beautiful and like I also feel touched by it. And at the same time, like I feel that there's like still like a little bit of like resistance in the body.
There might be some stuff that needs to be worked out there about boundaries and bullying and some energies that need to become more apparent. Shock. Look, it's shocking seeing people triggered. Like if it, especially, was it that they went into anger? Especially when it's anger.
Yeah, I feel like it was in front of many people, like that all this fear, a lot of shock. Like it was just like in the entire room, not just like within me. Like I feel because of this, it was so like intense, and then on stage and everything. So like I feel like quite, like probably almost everyone in this room felt this atmosphere. And you don't need to be an empath for it. It was just quite obvious.
You say that, but you never know. There might have been someone that was thoroughly entertained by the drama of it.
Maybe. Yeah, but thank you for the pointers.
And just it's totally okay to set a boundary with someone and for them not to agree on it and for you not to see eye to eye. You know, that to you might not be acceptable behavior. You express it and they might not agree with you. And that's that, you know, that is. You don't need to argue about it or discuss it with them. It's just this wasn't acceptable and that's, you don't need to explain yourself. I say this like the authority when I have to admit that I'm a little bit weak with boundaries. That is in my life been my weakness, and it's like I've really had to work on is erecting boundaries, you know, and especially with this message, you know, and getting into it so young, I did become a bit too passive with people. Yeah, thanks, Lalit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Bruno, you can unmute yourself.
Lisa, how are you?
Hi, Bruno. Yeah.
Hey.
I think Bruno, you might need to take your video off. Your audio is difficult. Thanks.
I need your guidance again. Is the sound okay? Not really.
No, it's not. It's not the best. So, what about if you try like taking my video off too? I can't put my video off for you because then I'll put it off for everyone else. But if you try to, I don't know if you can do that somehow. Maybe you can just small the screen. Maybe that makes it less.
I don't know. Like this, I don't.
Yeah, this
Can
sounds.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That sounds good.
Okay, so let's see how it goes because I was every time I wanted to ask a question, but every time I would pose it, the thoughts faded. It felt you guys, and I've shared.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bruno. It's you're cutting out too much.
All right.
Maybe you can move somewhere in the house where it's a bit stronger.
So next time, I think in every I've been I know what I can more.
Okay, we'll speak next time then. Or you can write the question. That's another thing you could do. Thanks, Bruno.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Bettina, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey, Bettina.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yes. I'm thinking I always get nervous when I'm speaking and then I forget what I wanted to say. Or like I feel really unclear and stuff. It's just each time. Yes, I think my question is about it's about my practice basically. I think there's like a longing for having for a practice for presence. I mean, I know that sounds, oh, now you're, but it's like something where I have like a space where I can practice or just be. I know it's like something in me feels like it's about to be the whole day, but I know there's like times in the day where I'm very busy, and I know that there's so much stuff going on, and I'm not very present, and for me it's like this time in the morning, which is very precious, to just be with myself. And then, but then there's lots of conflicting things going on that I've got lots of resistance then, where I feel I would like to meditate or sit or just be with myself. But I feel there's lots of resistance going on, and I see myself then getting distracted, doing this, doing that, doing all kinds of stuff. And then the time passes, and I think my day is supposed to start, like do other things because they're on then. And then sometimes I get a bit frustrated with that, because there's all this things going on around it, where it's avoidance, resistance. Sometimes I get it, it's all right, and then there's expectation, and sometimes things, oh, I should let go. So there's lots of muddle in the whole thing. And I somehow feel what you would suggest with that, actually, to, yeah, I don't know, being, yeah, so being between this resistance and also not going against this resistance, because I think I've got like a tendency to, there's resistance and I work with force to overcome that, but that creates bigger resistance and it hasn't been very good for me to to force myself into something because there's resistance. But on the other hand, just letting go into the resistance and just being with the resistance and just almost not doing something because there is resistance doesn't feel right either. I don't know, it seems a bit confusing, but I hope it's, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Let's see what comes.
Yeah.
I feel like you know the answer, but I'll just say it out loud for who knows why. Maybe it's energetical or others. The problem is that your mind is believing that it's meditating and that this time is for you. But who is meditating and who is this time for? So, well, it's your job to meditate, then there's going to be resistance and there's going to be frustration and there's going to be mental activity. And this is the difficult part of it. So it's in the beginning, or not even in the beginning, in the middle and the end, it's as if somebody is resting their attention in the personal consciousness or in beingness. So you're moving your attention out of thinking and then you're placing it back in the moment. But then the mind can become super tricky in its thinking and it can start triggering lots of physiological energies in the body. So the body becomes very uncomfortable and then the battle begins of good and evil. So rather than it being because your partner or your children or your work colleagues have done something wrong and you're in conflict with them, it's like the good side and the bad side of your mind are in conflict and having a dialogue. But the big awareness, like who you truly are, is there prior to that one in dialogue. So right now you're focusing on me, but there is this knowing of the wall behind me, of the stairs behind me. There's the knowing of the room behind the computer, the wall, the colours, but they're not known as a thought, they're just known instantaneously as this pure consciousness of what you are. But the place in where you're in conflict is in that inside the realms of the apparent personal consciousness and the realms of this person that believes in good and bad. So the answer to it is to persist with the apparent practice, but it's this razor sharp knife that knows what the practice is and what the practice isn't. The practice isn't anything mental. It isn't anything physiological. The practice is resting in yourself, which is a non-activity. So the more discernment about what it's not, the more it will naturally begin to happen. So in the positive, we would say put attention in attention. So put attention in the I amness, or put the attention in beingness or presence, or in itself. So put consciousness in consciousness. But in actuality, it's not really you doing it. It's the discernment of what you're not, and then it naturally begins to happen. So you're not the one that enjoys the rest in the morning. You're not the one that does the practice or doesn't do the practice. You're not the one that does the practice well. You're not the one that gets frustrated. You are that which is prior. So it's this natural discernment, not this, not that, that begins to happen. Not this, not that. And that might feel very uncomfortable. Not this, not that, not this, not that. It might come with immense discomfort, but it's this natural phenomena that happens the more and more you get lost in this subject. And that's the true letting go. When it's letting go for no one, by no one. It's not really an activity of mind, of thoughts, of feelings. It's a non-activity. So Papaji, apparently he said to Gangaji, just stop. And it took years for her to really hear that, just stop. Like at first she thought she had to stop, you know? And she had to do something. And then over the years it got deeper and deeper and deeper, just stop. Mm. And it's just this. Sorry, I'm just gonna sneeze. It's just this discernment, you know. This mind is always wanting to tell stories, you know, that I enjoy my time in the morning. This storyteller isn't truth,
Yeah,
you know.
It's easy to get taken away in any direction by it, and it's sometimes difficult to see illusion, to differentiate illusion from truth. And sometimes I'm on the spot, I can see it, and sometimes I'm taken away, and it's this and there and there, and it's just and then I think, oh, this is it, but this is not, and I can feel it afterwards. If there's something knows, but it's not always. I'm not. It's always difficult. Something knows, and it's not clear. Sometimes also.
Yeah, totally.
Discernment is not clear.
Yeah. And that's the way that it mostly goes, is that for a period there's clarity and then lostness, and clarity and lostness. You know, this backwards and forwards.
I mean, that's why I come and ask again.
Yeah. And that's the exact practice, you know. This satsang is part of the practice of it. Because my voice is really your voice. Thank you.
Thank you. And I like actually the singing also. I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. A singer lover.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Yeah, Bodhidharma, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Mrs. Cairns.
Hello, Mrs. Cairns.
No, I'm not Mrs. Cairns. It was so funny when you talked about the name for your partner. I just read, maybe today or yesterday, I don't know, just one time a passage from one of Papaji's books. And it was a conversation with some student. And he asked him at the end, what is your name? He was like, oh, my name is Hari. And he said, do you know what this name means? And then his explanation was the one who swallows the hearts of all beings. I really liked that one.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, Hari. And it's kind of disguised in our society, you know, you can kind of have Hari sort of in English. And do you have Harry in German? Maybe? Harold, Harry? No. But in English we have Harry, sort of. It's a little slightly different saying. But Harry. Yeah, we have Harry.
Yeah.
It's short for Harold. Harry. But it's not quite Harry, like Sanskrit Harry, but similar. People wouldn't really notice. I wanted to say last week, you know, just sometimes I forget the human stuff. You know, I get so into the blissed outness of being that people say things that might be difficult, and then I forget the humanness of it. So you're like, I lost your job, and then I'm just like, but I also can see that, you know, that's like quite a transition to go through, to lose your job.
That's okay. I'm happy about it, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to stay there, you know.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I wanted to ask, it was actually something out of an older session. I just remembered it today. And do you remember at the end of the retreat, the Easter retreat, where I met you? And you said one time when you left with your partner, you had like still like a feeling of hystericalness inside of you.
Yeah.
You were like, I think I picked it up from your laughter, and like I never heard that one from somebody before, and it was really hard for me to tell if there's something like this inside of me. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, do you still remember that and how that felt? Because it's quite hard for me to just uh, kind of see like what this could be about, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it translates well into German hysterical. Like, I don't think it so just to say that it doesn't, I don't think there's a good translation for that. I feel it often when I speak to you. It's lurking there in the background. But it could be me. Who knows what's me, what's you? But it's like a really like quick moving, rapid energy upwards.
Yeah, and then I hold it back.
And then it sort of pops out. But it's
And it
also
always comes with a
connected. It's
laughter.
also, yeah, it's also connected to, it is connected to the freedom. But it's like the freedom not grounded. You know, it's like you taste the freedom, but it gets hysterical rather than like that boom, that
Like, would you say
peace that's
kind of
underneath.
mad?
Not mad, no. It gets ramped up in energy because it doesn't get grounded. It's like it
Okay,
stays
yeah, now I
higher,
know
so it
what you
like
mean.
it gets faster in energy rather than like that boom, that big that grounds it to the ground.
Yeah, okay, now I get you.
It's like these ones up here more open, and it's like not that these chakras down here aren't open. It's like it's just that it doesn't get grounded, so it becomes hysterical rather than peaceful. Hysterical is not necessarily hysterical. Can be, you know, like people love being hysterical. You know, it can be fun and
Oh,
you know they're
really?
having a good time. Yeah, no, that's the way it translates. It's like hysterical can be like hysterically fun. You know, like when I'll tell you a way in which this is. You know, when kids are in the playground and there's lots of them and they start playing together and they tip over this energy of like being excited into hysterical. Like, so they're excited and it becomes too excited. Or maybe you've seen dogs like this before. And then it becomes a bit uncontrollable. You know, like once when I was in this orphanage and we bought the kids balloons and they'd never experienced balloons. And the kids got hysterical. Like, they were playing, they
Okay.
got the balloons, and then they got hysterical. And then it's like, then they wear themselves out quickly. And then, you know, like it's uncontrollable while they're hysterical. It's like you just have to make sure they don't damage themselves and let them get hysterical, and then it calms down like this.
Yeah, I would then definitely say then it pops up when I just look at one point and I just, let's say, forget to breathe, and then energy builds up. And then, yeah, maybe sometimes it comes out quickly with laughter.
Yeah. And it just feels like it just needs the other side of it, like this more earthy side to it. I don't know that don't take what I say as a truth, you know, just if something resonates or something helps you see different aspects of yourself, then you can use it. What's your star sign? Oh, you disappeared into the galaxy. You're so air, aren't you? You're Pisces or something. Water or air.
I think in English it's called Libra.
Which one? What? Oh, is this air? What's
This-
Libra?
The scale.
Oh, yeah, the scales.
I think the sign is a scale.
And do you know what element it is?
No, I'm not into that. All I know is that Osho had like 5 main meditations, and each one suited an element. He said if you try them all out, the one
Libra
that
is an air
suits you
sign.
most is gonna be the one that suits you the most. And I basically did most of the time Vipassana, and Vipassana is air.
Yeah, somebody just commented that Libra is air. You've got the possibility. I've got this possibility too. I'm a triple Gemini. I'm an air sign, and it's like we've got this possibility. You know, if we hold on to a hot air balloon, we're just going to float off into the sky. You know, like everyone else stays on the ground, and we're just like boop 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 boop, and we're off into outer space, and everyone's still on the ground. We're like.
What did you mean with the triple gem?
Gemini, I don't know. In some tradition, I don't really follow it. In some traditions, I'm double Gemini, and in some I'm triple. It depends where your moon is and all these other things. Well, I'm all air. Peter says we're airheads. Yeah, we are airheads. I can feel this in both of you and me, and we get together, and there's this hysterical possibility. We need to be careful. We've got to stay on the ground. We need a Taurus. Is Taurus the Earth? Which one's the Earth one? Ball. I wonder what Vishron is.
Which star sign are you, Lisa?
I'm Gemini.
How does that look like? Because I'm not into that kind of stuff.
It's the one with the 2 faces.
Is it an animal?
No, it just is 2 faces. I would have loved it if I got an animal. Yeah, no, but I'm very happy with the Gemini, but yeah, it's the 2-faced one. That sounds awful in English. The 2-faced one.
Yeah.
You normally find that Geminis are chatterboxes when you meet other ones. Oh, it's the twins. Somebody said it's the twins.
Ah, yeah. Chatterbox, yeah.
And when's Vishwant born? He's going to be Leo or something like this. Or Virgo. I'm not very good with names.
Sure, if it's January or February, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
So he's the crab, I think. Is that it? The January one?
Well, what's the pit bull?
The crab is kind of like, that's a bit like a pit bull. You've ever
Yeah, I
been
know.
chased by a crab? I don't know what the January one is. Someone's going to tell us in a second. You see, look, we're getting into our airhead mode. Can you feel that? Can you feel that energy between us? Like we're going all up. Can you?
Yeah, but I try to breathe it back into the belly.
Someone's going to tell us what the January is. We're waiting. Who's the
But I'm
expert?
not sure. I'm not sure.
If he's a crab or not. Capricorn.
Capricorn,
I forgot what that is. That's the one with a horse body and a head, human head. Oh, unexpected.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know Olivia's birthday, to be honest.
Someone said a goat. He's a goat with a human head. Look, we got to stop. We're getting hysterical.
The pit bull.
Yeah. But yeah, can you feel that? Like other people, can you feel that energy? Like someone comment like that we go into hysteria. Like it's similar with your brother, but more intense with you.
Yeah, but this is right now, like still small. Like I was, before I moved, I went to a satsang in Munich. Some guy invited me. The second satsang, I laughed for nearly 1.5 hours. Just 1.5 hours laughing. So like this is the
Yeah, someone says, yeah, it's
okay.
madness. Someone says, I feel you. Yeah, we're just going off into air. Yeah. When I remember once when I did an ayahuasca ceremony and I couldn't stop laughing, like I was hysterical. And this guy that was running it, he kept whispering into my ear, like, turn the smile inside. And that just like finished me off. I was like, couldn't you phrase that normally? Like, turn the smile inside. And he just made me more hysterical. It didn't work. It's so funny, isn't it? All the different energies. But that's what I mean by hysteria. And it's like everything that's most probably like grounding for you is like really good.
Yeah, trees are nice.
Yeah. And this is like just for everyone else. Like I'm not really talking to you, Bodhidharma. This is such a good display of what I talk about with energies, and like how, like what we are is always really a response to the other. So who is who? But what we're doing is we're trying to be someone, and then we're like fighting the energy of what is. So we're trying to hold on to like a regular Lisa. But if you watch me interact with different people, I begin to go into different energies because I'm just responding to the energy I'm being met with. And then who is who? Like, so the way that I was speaking to Bettina, the lady before, is so different. I mean, maybe it doesn't look like it from the outside, but for me, energetically, it feels so different. And then to Lee at the very beginning, and then to Lalit. Lalit's a little similar to you, but to Lee at the very beginning, all these different energies that come up. So if somebody came on, like the next person spoke to me, had like really repressed anger, and they didn't want to show it, they were trying to put on their like face of like being kind, but in the background they're feeling really angry. Like this body's going to feel that and then be dancing with that. And then if the next person after that comes with like sadness, like that's the energy that's going to be dancing with. And then what the goal is in interaction is you just want to become as empty as you can, like totally present to whatever's appearing. Like you're just like that Rumi poem, like that diamond reflecting all the different faces. And this is also why I'm a little bit opposed to, this goodness and badness of teachers or something, like, because like truly, when you truly fall down the rabbit hole, there is no teacher, and the teacher is just response, it's just a mirror to what's coming towards it. But the problem is that sometimes the teacher can have old triggers come up, or sometimes the teacher's not really in that emptiness, so they're in a role still, so there's all these different dances that happen. Okay, but I'm a bit over time today with today's talk. Yeah. Thanks, Bodhidharma.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure. Okay. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I just say goodbye to everybody in YouTube, and then if you want to hang around and just to say a quick hello to everybody in Zoom, you can, yeah, stay. It's nice if you put your video on in Zoom. Okay, so to those in YouTube, yeah, I really wish you everything. Yeah, it's really beautiful sharing with you all. And yeah, I will be here next Sunday as well at 4:30 French time, so you're welcome to join. And please, if you appreciate the video, make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe. That's really helpful. Yeah, I really wish you everything. Not one or two or three things, but every God blessed thing. Bye.